Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the City of Bowie's Emergency Rental Assistance Program webinar. I would like to thank all of our guests for taking time out of your busy schedules to attend this webinar, and I'm sure you will find the information beneficial for your organizations and the Bowie residents in need of assistance. The City of Bowie has partnered with Housing Initiative Partnership Incorporated to perform the program administrative function for this program, and they will be sharing the program overview and application process during this webinar. Before I introduce the panelists, I would like to share with you the process for submitting your questions. All questions must be typed into the Zoom presentation app using the Q&A tab on your screen. After the presentation, we will respond to all questions during the Q&A segment. Today we have three panelists, and they are Jesse Buggs, who's the Director of the Office of Grant Development and Administration for the City of Bowie. Next, we have Marianne Dillon, Executive Director for Housing Initiative Partnership Incorporated. And finally, we have Mary Hunter, Director of Housing Counseling for Housing Initiative Partnership Incorporated. We will begin the seminar with Mr. Buggs, who will provide program background for the Emergency Rental Assistance Program. Mr. Buggs.
Good morning, and as George has just said, we welcome all of you today. Thank you for joining us this morning. This session obviously is designed for us to provide you with some information on how this program came about and what the procedures are for us to help you and you to help us as we try to get these resources to your tenants who are suffering from a series of pandemics. The city received funds from the Federal CARES Act through HUD to prevent, prepare for, and respond to the coronavirus pandemic. We have decided to use some of these funds to help city residents pay part of their rent to those who have suffered a loss of income due to the pandemic. We're using some of the funds also to provide food for others whose families have lost income. And we have done that through a distribution process that we've conducted in various parts of the city over the past 4 weeks, and we're conducting another one this weekend at Village Baptist Church on Mitchellville Road. Let me start to say that we are fortunate, as George has mentioned, to have the most experienced nonprofit housing development and counseling team in Prince George's County working with us on this project, and that is the Housing Initiative Partnership, or HIP. They have the experience, competence, and the capacity to administer the program for the city, and we're very fortunate to have them. I'm sure you'll see this morning as you go through this process that they're the right choice for us to help guide us through to make sure that your tenants get the money to help them with their rental arrears. Now, with your help as multifamily property owners and managers, we will make this program a success. I leave you now in the capable hands of HIP and George Jones, the grants officer for the grants management officer for the grants office for the city, and the project manager for this effort. With that, I'll turn it back over to George. George?
George, you're on mute.
Thank you, Mr. Buggs. And now we will hear from Marianne Dillon, Executive Director for Housing Initiative Partnership.
Okay, well, thank you, George. I'm Marianne Dillon. I'm Executive Director of Housing Initiative Partnership, also known as HIP. We are a nonprofit green housing developer and counseling agency based in Hyattsville. And we've been around for 31 years, and we have served over 25,000 families in that time. We provide counseling services for everything from people moving out of homeless shelters to people buying their first home. So we provide counseling for the full range of needs that people have in their housing. We have focused on renters in recent years and have a very robust renters counseling program. And we're part of managing the county's Emergency Rental Assistance Program. And we're also working in Montgomery County, working with Montgomery County on their Emergency Rental Assistance Program. So we have a lot of experience with these new programs that we have underway. And we're really excited about partnering with the city of Bowie. We have some great partners in George and Jesse. So we're very pleased to kick this off. I do want to introduce you, and I know George will do this. Mary Hunter is our Director of Housing Counseling. She has been with us for something like 12 years. She built our whole foreclosure prevention program when we were going through the foreclosure crisis. She's now built up our whole program for emergency rental assistance. And you'll see when you see this, our website and what we have set up for you, that it's very well organized. And I think we can really meet the needs of people very quickly. I also want to introduce on the phone Paolo Viatero, who is a temporary worker for us. We hired her specifically for the City of Bowie Emergency Rental Assistance. She's young, she's ambitious. She just recently graduated from school. She's very eager to help and dive in. So we're excited to have her on board as well. Thank you very much, George. Back to you.
Okay, thank you, Marianne, for those remarks. And I guess, Mary, you've been duly introduced, and please begin.
Thanks so much, everybody. It's great to be here. As Marianne and has nicely introduced me. My name is Mary Hunter. I'm the Director of the Housing Counseling Program at HIP. So I will introduce you today to the process that your residents will be using to apply for the City of Bowie Rent Assistance. I would like to say initially that if you have any questions, I'm a real Q&A kind of person. I really appreciate questions. It helps sort of sort through some of the details, and it helps us to know what you're thinking as well, and wondering, because, if I get asked questions today, it will certainly be something that we can address early rather than later. And that's helpful. So the first thing I'm going to do is share the screen here so that you can see the website where applicants will go to learn about the program. This website, by the way, is not currently live. It will not be available to the public until November 11th, which is the date of our program launch. So I'm sharing this for you to look at and explore and understand, because I hope that the property managers will be a resource for your residents who have questions. We'll be available if your residents have questions, but it would be really wonderful if you're well versed in how this process works. Obviously, you have a vested interest in making sure folks get assistance. Okay, so let's start with, this is the website where everybody will be directed to apply. The City of Bowie is going to have their own web page that links to this website, so that people will be directed here. Okay, there's a brief sort of introduction here, and it's essentially that there are limited funds, and I'm not entirely sure exactly what they are. They're a little under $80,000, I would say, available. And that's currently, but there may be additional funds later. So that's the hope. And while funds last, the program will provide up to $1,500 per household to cover the cost of arrears. So let's go through this. There are two ways to submit an application. It's nice and clear here: online, in person, boom. So I'll get to that in a minute. When you push those buttons, it'll take you elsewhere, but I want to start with tenant eligibility. In the City of Bowie, anyone eligible, that the household has to earn 80% or less of area median income. And it's all right here to the right-hand side. You can see exactly what that criteria is by family size. The household has to be experiencing a rental hardship. In other words, they have to have rent arrears. If they're not late yet, but they're worried they're going to be late in December, they will not qualify for this program. They have to actually have rental arrears. They have to document that the rent arrears are a direct result of hardship related to COVID-19. They must be current as of March 31st. So what that means, we'll collect rent ledgers. And as we review the rent ledgers, if we see that in March they owed, $500, but in April they paid that $500 and it got applied back to March, they're still eligible. So any payments made after March that go towards March rent that made them current through March will be considered, allow them to be current through March. And we already got to the 80% AMI. So that's the eligibility criteria right there. Note your questions afterwards if you have any, because I'm moving on to required documents. For the city of Bowie, we have the application, and within the application is a tenant self-certification of income. What that means is for this program, we're allowing the residents the applicants to certify that they have suffered a hardship due to COVID and that they've lost income due to COVID, and they have to describe that in the application, and then they have to sign that application as a verification. The difference between this and what was happening in the county is the county, initially a lot of jurisdictions when this program started required that we actually have documentation that they lost income. So we were collecting bank statements and pay stubs from February to present. Because we needed to see there was a downward trajectory in their income. HUD is now allowing us to allow the applicants to self-certify that they've lost income. So that will be part of the application process that we'll go over, the application, actual application, and we'll have a link here. Okay, so the documents they have to submit are a photo ID and copy of your driver's license would be ideal. Social security cards for each member of the household. This is very important. We've had instances where people lost their social security cards. I get that. It's sometimes tough to keep up with, and especially during COVID shutdown, people didn't have access to go get a new one. We were able to accept a W-2, which showed the social security number of the person. But generally we're asking for social security cards, so that's what is on here. We need a lease, the first page and the signature page. We don't need the whole lease, just the first page and signature page. We will need a rent ledger. This is where you come in. Please make rent ledgers available to your residents so that they can provide them to us. That will be critical, as well as your W-9. So if that could be a role that you play, just make those, get those to the residents as quickly as possible. It will really ease the process, because that has been a holdup for a lot of the applicants. They can't get the ledger in. So that's why I'm really glad we're all talking today. Finally, we are going to request proof of income for the last 30 days because we have to prove the income eligibility here, 80% AMI. So we're going to look at, there are a number of ways that people can show their income over the last 30 days. It's not all of these, but as long as one or two of these documents do show the income, that's sufficient. So it could be bank statements. Bank statements often show, direct deposits, and if that's what they want to provide us with all pages, that is acceptable. It could be pay stubs, could be unemployment insurance, it could be Social Security award letters, it could be all of the above. Okay, so just whatever minimum proof that they can gather to show their income for the last 30 days in the entire household will be required. Again, this will be helpful if any of your residents have questions that you sort of work through answering those, and we'll be available by email and by phone to answer questions as well. Moving on to payments. Payments will be made directly to the property manager. So that is something that will come directly to you. We have a series of frequently asked questions here. Who is eligible? We just talked about that. If you push the little plus button, it gives you exactly what you saw up above. Nothing new. I don't have a letter from my employer. I'm self-employed. I don't work regular hours. How do I verify my last 30 days of income? This is a question that will come up. And we do have a self-certification income form that will be downloadable right here. If people don't have bank statements, they don't have pay stubs, they can self-certify the income for the last 30 days. That will be downloadable. Fill it out, sign it, return it. When is the deadline to submit an application? This is a first come, first serve program. So we open on November 11th and encourage people to get their applications in. They will be considered as they are complete. And we'll get to what complete means. So first complete, first considered until the funds are expended. What is counted as income? Again, we went over that. So I was able to pay my rent up until now, but I do not think I'll be able to pay next month. I discussed this. Unfortunately, you're not eligible if you're not late. Will I receive the money directly? No, it goes to your landlord. I have a notice to vacate from my landlord or a court summons for an eviction hearing. What should I do? This is a question we get a lot. We do have a great information on our website. So there's a link for what they should do. What they should do is, if there's a court proceeding, obviously we want to encourage everyone to go to that and make sure they are doing everything they can to sort of pay the money back, access the money here, but not ignore any of the notices that the landlord's providing or sheriff's, eviction notice. Will I have to pay this money back? The answer is no, it is not a loan. Will I have to report it on my 2020 taxes? The answer is no, because it's made directly to the landlord. And can I email my documents to you? And the answer is no. We will be providing everyone with a link to a secure portal to upload their documents, and I'm going to go over that. So that covers the basic instructions on the website, the general instructions. And now we're going to get into the two ways to submit an application. There's the online submission and there's the in-person drop-off. The online submission, you click this little button that takes you down to the online submission instructions. And again, it gives you very clear instructions, 5 steps. You complete the application by clicking this button. Within 3 days, our ERA specialist, after we received the application, the ERA specialist, Paula, will email the applicant a link to a secure portal. And using that secure portal, they will upload all of these documents. This is for the online. Step 4 is after they do that, make that upload, we see it, it comes into us. We know that they've now uploaded their documents. We get a little ding, and our ERA specialist, Paula, will review those documents. And within 3 days, she will notify the applicant if there's any missing documents or if there's anything illegible. And then she will list exactly what they need to submit us, making clear this is not a complete application yet. Not complete. You're not in the line until it's complete. So the applicant has a real incentive to get these back as quickly as possible. And then once they get the documents back, if they needed to, we will send them an email within 3 days, and it will say your application is complete. And we will notify you of a determination within 15 business days, 3 weeks. We're giving a big window for people to get a determination, because it's important that we have time to really do our review and then provide our recommendation and documents to the city. They'll do their review, and the city will then cut the check and notify the applicant of the determination. Okay, so that is the online application process. I'm going to show you briefly the portal I mentioned. The links that we'll be sending those who want to upload their documents go to this portal. So this is our City of Bowie portal. We've already had applications from Mickey and Minnie Mouse. We're really excited about that. That you didn't know they were residents. So Mickey Mouse here has a folder that we've created, and when we receive the application, we'll just basically link to this folder, and this is what this applicant will see. Real easy to navigate it. There's a little upload button up here on the top. They click that upload button and they can upload all their documents. So clearly this is a way to apply that is going to be useful for people who know their way around a computer and are somewhat technologically savvy, because you're going to have PDFs of all these documents. You have to upload them. You have to know how to work a portal. Okay, so I'm going to move out of that now, and I'm going to go back into the in-person. For people who really don't feel comfortable with that process, we're going to have an in-person drop-off. They will retrieve the hard copy application and instructions from here. It's going to have the City of Bowie address. It's going to be at the City of Bowie. We will have a, and George might want to clarify this as we go into the Q&A, but there, because I am not totally clear, there's a front desk. There will be, I think there will be basically a box there, and it will include a lot of the applications, you know, a stack of applications, and the applicant walks in the door, they go pick up the application, they walk out, they're wearing a mask, there's social distancing, so there's not any necessity for sort of an in-person, in an office contact. So they'll be safe. And once they retrieve that application, they fill it out, they get all their supporting documentation together, and they return it back to that same location at the City of Bowie, at the front desk, in a sealed envelope, on the outside of which they need to put their name and address and a date. And the City of Bowie will actually date stamp it as it comes in. And then we will retrieve these applications from the City of Bowie, we'll scan them, we'll upload them into our portal that I just showed you for each of the applicants, and review them. Anything missing, here's the City of Bowie address. Anything missing, again, same process. We will email, or if they don't have email, we'll call them to let them know, or if they don't have we'll mail, either email, call, or mail. Hopefully not mailing, because that'll delay the process. We're hoping they'll provide us with a phone number or an email address with what is missing, and letting them know that the application is not complete until they provide the remainder of the documents. And they can drop those off at the City of Bowie, same process. And once we retrieve those, or once they drop those back to the city, return those to the city, hopefully their application will be complete. And then we will let them know within 3 days your application is complete. We need 15 business days to provide to you a final determination. The website has these little question. This is our email address for our ERA specialist. It's era@hiphomes.org. Anyone can click here and send an email if they have any questions about the process or they're really worried, and we'll definitely get back to them. And let me just show you the online application for those who are going to submit it online. Click in the online application. Here it is. And they enter all their data, their name, their street address, their phone number. Email is required, phone number is required, date of birth, all these things are required fields. We have to collect gender and race down below. This is the number of people in the household. We need to know each person in the household, their names and dates of birth. We have to have a sense of how many are in the household. Here's where the ethnicity and race information is collected. This is the self-certification of loss of income due to COVID. Have you lost income due to COVID? Yes or no. If it's no, this is not the program for you. Some people lost income for other reasons. Not the program for you. If they put yes, they're going to have an opportunity to explain in detail. This is really important to explain. We need to know exactly how they lost income. And they're also required to just write the name of the employer where they lost income. the dates of the loss of income, did they apply for unemployment insurance, did they receive unemployment insurance, and here's the self-certification for the total or income for the household over the last 30 days. We will be collecting documentations to back this up. So they're going to write, let's say they write $5,000. We will need to see all the documentation that shows that. If they write, if they put in here $200 and we collect bank statements and it shows that there's a discrepancy, we will look into that. Do you have a formal lease with your landlord? Yes. And we need for them to provide the full name and the property where they lease and the landlord's name. Let us know what the monthly rent is. How much do they owe in back rent? We're asking them to try to be as close as possible. We will be collecting the ledger. So if it's not exact, don't worry, it's not that big of a problem. We'll get the information. We want to know if they've got a summons to appear, if they've got an eviction proceeding. We'd like to know that because we might look at their case sooner rather than later. And do they have any other language that they need to be communicated for future dates? That's just, we just would be curious. I mean, if there's going to be a language barrier, we'll find a way to pull in someone who can help us translate. Okay, they sign it, they submit it. All this data goes directly to us, and then we'll upload it into our portal here. So then we'll have all their application data and all of their supporting document data in one folder. And then when the application is complete, we will disable their access to this folder. And then they will no longer have access to the folder because we'll be including additional documentation of our analysis of the application. Okay, so that covers the application submission process. And as we open on November 11th, I'm thinking that the sort of trajectory will be, the hope is that within a month, within 4 weeks, we'll have the bulk of the determination letters finalized. That's the goal. And so we're looking at 4 to 5 weeks to get the processing and determination letters and commitment letters out the door. And that is it. And I'm open to any questions. We're really excited to work with the city of Bowie and all of you. So yeah, I'll turn it back to moderator George and to Mr. Jones.
Okay, thank you, Mary. That was very informative and very detailed. We don't have any questions at this point in time, but I do want to speak to the applications being dropped off at City Hall. There will be, as Mary stated, there will be a stack of applications and signage right inside City Hall. So you would just come inside the front door to City Hall on the ground floor, and you can just pick up the application. You don't have to come in contact with any of the staff there. They'll just be made available. Now, when you want to, when they want to submit the application, they will be directed. There will be a sign there telling them they need to see the attendant at City Hall at the front desk there. So they would go to the attendant. The attendant will then receive the application. They will date and timestamp the application and put it in a special folder for a representative from Housing Initiative Partnership to retrieve the application. They can rest assured with the date and the timestamp, since this is a first come, first serve program, they will not, when they return it and it's date and time stamped, they will not lose out to a person who may be doing the application online, because no matter when HIP gets it, it may be a day later or 2 days later, they still would hold their place based off of the date and time they submitted their application. So there's no worries about other people jumping ahead of you, because all the applications will be evaluated based on on the first come, first served basis. One thing I did want to mention about the program starting on November 11th. On November 11th, City Hall is closed for the holiday, but you can go on our website and download the application. You'll be able to print it out. You just won't be able to submit it on November 11th in person if you were trying to get it in on November 11th. But we will be open on the 12th to receive those applications. So that was the only thing I wanted to share with you regarding submitting of applications. Still don't see any questions at this time. I will, if there's nothing else, we can, if there are any additional closing remarks from any of our panelists, please share those at this time.
Okay, thanks so much. We're really looking forward to working with all of you. And you know, I'm glad that we've seen each other, you've seen our faces, you have our contact information, you know where our website is. We are looking to be as responsive as possible.
Thank
Mary,
you.
can you provide some information? Question: what can the landlords do?
Chelsea, can you speak up a little bit? We're having a little bit hard time hearing you.
Can you hear me?
Now
No.
that's a little better. Thank you.
Mary, can you explain, make a couple statements about what landlords can do to be helpful to their tenants in this process?
So what landlords can do to be helpful to their tenants in this process? The most important thing would be to have the rent ledger and the W-9 available to your residents, you know, as quickly as possible. They're going to be eager to get their applications in, and that will be an essential part of that. If there's a location where they could use a printer to print out some documents that they may need, if they're submitting a hard copy application, that could be helpful as well. So that's one worry I have. We may be able to make a day in our office available for people if they need to print out some documentation or to bring some hard copy documents to be printed and scanned. But if that could happen on location, it would be really helpful.
Thank you.
I guess one more thing I would say is that I didn't mention is, photos are welcome. Photos of documents, as long as they're clear, are fine. But it just has to be a very clear, photo. And these days, everybody has a smartphone with a camera, so that has been an option that's been helpful for people. And I didn't mention the leases. So the lease, the ledger, and the W-9, because a lot of people are maybe not going to have their lease. So if they could get that from the landlord, that would be helpful.
Mary, can you also tell them about our timeline that we're trying to get this money out?
So we need to have all the commitments made by the 31st of December. That's why our goal is to process the applications, to get as many in as possible on the early side, and to spend then 4 weeks just processing them through to the end. And there's a real clear timeline that we have in terms of responsiveness to the applicant. So when the application is submitted, we get back to them within 3 days. We ask them to submit their documents within 3 days. We keep things moving along pretty quickly on our side. The key is that they get the complete application, all the documents to us. Otherwise, they're going to, the days are going to slip by and it's going to be too late. So I think if we could tell, share the information about what documents we need with your residents and have them start gathering those now, that would be a good way to start this process. Everybody get ready over the weekend and next week, and make sure people know what documents to gather. So the answer is that I'm sort of looking at from November, 4 weeks from November 11th, that we'll have hopefully most of the determinations made by that time. And we have to have them all complete by the 31st of December. Is that right, Jesse? Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. We're going to make sure that we get all the funds obligated and or expended before that time. That's our goal. We also just wanted to tell all of the landlords that we are available to speak to them if there are any confusion, if they have any issues understanding the process or the tenants do, that they can reach out to us and George will provide them with that information, both phone numbers and email addresses, so that we can make sure that we expedite this and try to get it accomplished so that we get the money out of the door by December 31st.
And we have a couple holidays that are going to be coming our way in the meantime, but fortunately none of us are going anywhere, so.
Thank you.
Right. Just a follow-up also, I believe, Mary, you had mentioned that there will be information on the cover sheet of the application, should they pick up a hard copy, where they can contact your organization to ask any questions regarding completing the application. And also, as Mr. Buggs just stated, you'll have my card and Mr. Buggs' card will be available at the front desk when you pick up the application, so that they can reach out to the city as well, and we can assist them with whatever their needs may be as they complete the application as well.
That's right.
Okay. Any other closing remarks at this time? All right, seeing none. Oh, Marianne, did you?
Oh, no, I just wanted to say thank you to everybody on the call as a closing remark.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'd like to thank our panelists for their remarks and presentation. And I would like to thank all of our guests that attended this webinar. Thank you again for taking time out of your day. And we look forward to working with each of you as this program moves forward. Please feel free to reach out to us here at the city or with HIP with any assistance you may need going forward. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Have a great day. Stay safe.